A reminder to you that ESPN FC is brought to you by Frito-Lay, and Harry Maguire is said to be considering his options after being informed he'll no longer be Manchester United captain. He tweeted, after discussions with the manager today, he's informed me he's changing captain. He outlined his reasons to me, and whilst I'm personally extremely disappointed, I will continue to give my all every time I wear the shirt. There's a bit more of what he did say here. Obviously, it's been a tough few months for him. Would it be the best thing to just go now, Stevie?
I would think so. I mean, I don't understand how Harry himself can see a future on the field at Manchester United. And so, at his age, he surely has to want to play. And it surely shouldn't be about the money. So, this seems perfect to me. I think West Ham would be absolutely perfect for him. He can go there. He's not going to be under the same scrutiny. Yes, he's going to be in the Premier League. But, you know, Man United and West Ham are in different stratospheres when it comes to pressure. And so, for me, this is, if I'm Harry Maguire, this is an absolute no-brainer. Is he saying what he has to here, Shaka?
Yeah, no doubt.
Because he can't be surprised that this captaincy's not his anymore.
I don't think anybody's surprised. I think it's more surprising that he's still there, in all honesty. No, but to your question, Kate, that's exactly what any player would say in that situation. While he's still a Manchester United player, I'm going to give my all every time I pull on the shirt. And credit to him for that and for that attitude. But he will move on. I think it's in everybody's best interest. Manchester United's and Harry Maguire's and England's for that matter. As Steve says, moving to a club where he won't be under the same scrutiny, where he can regain confidence, where you're playing at a level where you can tolerate some of those mistakes, and you playing yourself back into the form that saw him move for 80 million. And I think West Ham is a good fit in that regard. You look at West Ham's centre-back pairings. You got Zuma and Aguerd, who are the preferred choices. You got Kera, who can fill in there, plus a couple others.
Angelo, avenging Angelo Ogbonna. Can't believe you don't mention him.
But how often did he start last season?
He's had his injuries.
Too often.
but so he fits in. You know, again, that I think he fits in. Every time I've seen Aguerd play, just for starters, hasn't filled me with an awful amount of confidence. So I think he comes in. I think he can be a leader in that back four. And again, at a club and a fan base who will maybe tolerate some of the missteps as he progresses to back to his best.
What do you think all roads lead to West Ham for Maguire?
I mean, he'd have to take a pay cut in exchange for more years. I think if I'm West Ham, I sit tight and try to negotiate down the fee, because I do think actually, I mean, take Shaka's point, Aguerd had injuries, Ogbonna had injuries. They don't have that much depth. They could definitely use him, but it's also not a tragedy if he doesn't show up. It's not like West Ham are going to get relegated. I still think, and look, you guys are former pros, you know you're taught to think, right? I think Harry Maguire shows up at training and says, I'm a center half. Who do I have? I have this undersized Lisandro Martinez who's coming off a terrible season-ending injury. I've got Rafael Varane, who's in his 30s now and has had a really poor injury record. I have Victor Lindelof. This is my competition. Surely your players, when you coach players, Stevie, you want them to back themselves and have that confidence. And it's not like he has Bruce and Pallister.
The problem is when something's staring you in the face, though, you have to eventually accept it.
That's the difficult part.
We'll back ourselves, right? But at the end of the day, not only is he not getting a chance, anytime he did get an opportunity to step on the field, you had the whole crowd. Every time the ball went near him, holding the breath. Now, I don't care how mentally strong you are. That affects everybody. And do you want to deal with that every time you step on the field? I mean, come on. You got to smell the roses eventually, and he has to do that, and he has to get back playing.
I couldn't agree more. I think last week I said, as footballers, we have a sometimes fatal personality flaw in that we back ourselves regardless. We just can't see around that. But to your question, Kay, do all roads lead to West Ham? I don't think so. I think all roads lead out of Manchester United to a club lower down in the league that will afford him, again, that opportunity to play, to grow back into his best, we're using West Ham as an example here because West Ham has been linked, but I think there are any number of clubs in the league who would be happy and would be a good fit for Harry Maguire.
Now, just a reminder that ESPN FC is brought to you by Frito-Lay, and a reminder that La Liga is back very soon, and every game is available all season on ESPN Plus in English and in Spanish. It's a chance to see Carlo Ancelotti in his last season this time around with Real Madrid. Now, even though he has been named as Brazil coach for 2024, we've not really heard anything more about it since, from the coach, from Real Madrid, from Brazil. What's going on, Gab?
Look, Sid Lowe has some interesting thoughts on this as well, but I think it's a situation where Ancelotti doesn't have the all clear from Real Madrid to tell people that, you know, when his contract expires, he will become the Brazil coach. I think he can't legally actually sign for them and commit for them until January and until sort of he enters the last 6 months of his contract. So he just keeps repeating what he keeps repeating, like, oh, I have a deal here. I love Real Madrid and so on. And unless Florentino decides to extend his contract and Ancelotti accepts it, we assume he's going to be the Brazil coach because they've been so emphatic in coming out and announcing it. I wouldn't be surprised if behind the scenes as well, the people who've worked on this deal, maybe Real Madrid themselves, have told Brazil, like, okay, look, you said this is going to happen. Now, please leave him alone because he has a day job. For the next 12 months, let him go and coach Real Madrid. And then when his contract expires, he can go, you know, do whatever he likes. But, you know, out of respect to the interim boss who's now in charge, out of respect for Carlo right now at Real Madrid in what looks to be his final season, please, let's just put this to one side.
Are there exceptions because it's Carlo Ancelotti? Because it's a situation that's a bit strange, players knowing that you're not going to be around potentially after this season.
I do think it's a little different that it's Ancelotti. You know, coaches and people like him just carry a respect from players that most managers don't. So regardless of what's going on the outside, they just still see Carlo Ancelotti. However, like all managers, when there's this stuff going on and Real Madrid don't start well, then the outside will start asking questions about, is his mind on the Brazil job? Because that's just the way it is. That's just what happens. But as far as the players are concerned, it won't affect them at all. They absolutely will not be thinking about Brazil. They will go in every morning and just be glad that Carlo Ancelotti is their manager.
There's no doubting his professionalism, but is it a bit of a win-win for him, this whole situation?
Absolutely it is. And I think deservedly so. And to Stevie's point, there aren't many managers who can boast of a record or reputation like Carlo Ancelotti can. Not just in terms of record and you know, trophies and etc., but just general respect from players, from every single player that comes under his charge. I think he commands a certain amount of respect from them and gets that in return. So I think it's easier in that regard. Probably the only parallel I can think of is Sir Alex Ferguson. I'm trying to think of when did Sir Alex Ferguson announce that he was stepping down, leaving Manchester United. I can't remember if it was this far in advance, but even if Sir Alex Ferguson announces 6 months before, it doesn't change everybody's approach. It doesn't change the respect that he garners or players' approaches to him. I think this is the same for Carlo Ancelotti. I'm not sure that there is another manager in the game who can boast as much.
What do you think his mindset is then going into this season? Does he savour it? Is it a bit more pressure?
Well, I think he knows. I mean, I think he'd said before that he wanted to retire after Real Madrid. He's got a year left. There's been no talk of a new deal. I don't think there ever has been talk of a new deal. So either way, this is going to be his last season in club management. That's the mindset he's at now. I don't know that he needs to spend too much time thinking or worrying about Brazil. I mean, he's there for the 2026 World Cup if he takes the job. He'll have 2 full years to go and prepare for it. It's not like he's going to be staying up at night and watching, you know, Brazilian First Division games to spot some unknown talents. He knows more or less who the players are. It's not his job to get them, well, will be his job to get them to qualify for the World Cup, but that's going to come later. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's like a he's like a pig in doo-doo right now. He's very, very happy.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.